Hello, I'm Hal Lublin.
And I'm Mark Gagliardi.
Since the dawn of humanity, one issue has gone unsettled. With the fate of the world in the balance, we're here to settle once and for all. Best Oscars host.
That's right. Don't worry, everyone. We got this.
Podcast should have a theme song. Podcast should not have a theme song. Yes, they should. No, they shouldn't. They sound good. Yeah, but people are just going to skip past it.
You know what?
You're right. We got this.
Mark,
Yes, Hal.
before we jump into this, to do Best Oscars host, which thank you, Coffee Bruin, for the suggestion.
Thank you, Coffee Bruin.
Do you know that there are 4 years in now 98? We've had 98 different Academy Awards. There are 4 years in which there was no host.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, there was a run.
Well, hang on. Let me see if I can guess. I know
Okay.
that there were a few.
Yeah,
Because there were a few recently. 3 of them I know
Yes.
because that was right before they had. It was the Kevin Hart thing, right? There was the whole Kevin Hart debacle.
That's right. I'm sorry. There were actually 7 times, but there's Kevin
And
Hart.
now, Hal, don't do this to me.
Sorry, there were 900 times.
Okay,
there are
of the
only
98 Oscars, they've had a host one time.
They've had
so
one
this is going
host.
to be easy. It's Aaron Tveit. He was
That's
running
right.
against nobody.
Yes.
Oh, wait, no, that was his Tony for Moulin Rouge. Could you imagine that? The choices are you or nobody gets it. And that was the whole category.
How
And
afraid
yet they
do you have
still
to be?
had to vote.
Yeah. Wouldn't you be afraid that you would lose because everybody would abstain? If nobody votes, you
Yeah.
don't win, right?
If they opened up the envelope and they were like, well, more people voted for nobody than this guy, but he won. So it was all right.
So a bunch of people wrote in Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark.
Oh, geez.
Sorry, Aaron.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and say it's those 3 years, the Kevin Hart right around. That would have been 19, 20, and 21.
That is 100% correct. So Kevin Hart pulled out 2 weeks, I think 2 months or no, 2 weeks before he pulled out. They decided not to have a host and they just had a bunch of glitzy presenters. The ratings were so good from that they continued it the next year in 2020. And then of course that led us into 2021, which was a COVID year in which they continued to not have a host. And then they brought back hosts after that. The other 3 in a row, I'm not going to make you guess, are 1969, 70, and 71.
Vietnam, perhaps. All
Could
the
be.
good big stars were over in Vietnam.
Could be. Yeah, they were all over there serving.
Sure. Hey, man, Jimmy Stewart was in World War II flying planes.
He was.
Yeah.
He was. The other year,
Would that have been 89? Because I'm
that would
curious.
be 89. That
Okay,
was
because
the
I was
Alan
curious. I
Carr-
was going through, I was watching all of the opening monologues,
Yes.
and I realized that it jumped from 90 to 88. I was like, was there an Oscars in 89 or was there just no host?
Oh, Mark.
What happened?
In 1989, a producer named Alan Carr
Mm-hmm.
took over and
Alan
wanted
Carr,
to
I know that name.
look up things it's escaping me right now, things
right.
that he produced. But
Mhm.
he decided that he wanted to bring back glitz and glamour
Mm-hmm.
to the Oscars in old Hollywood.
Okay.
And his version of that was a 12-minute opening where they hired an unknown actress to play Snow White, to dress up as Snow White, and try to find the Oscars. She goes through the audience, is awkwardly interacting with people. They have Merv Griffin
I feel like
singing,
I
I've got
saw
a
this
lovely bunch of
once.
coconuts.
Oh my God.
They trotted out a bunch of old Hollywood people, some of whom could barely move.
Mm-hmm.
And the end of it was her and representing young Hollywood, Rob Lowe,
Mhm.
performing Proud Mary with the lyrics changed to be about the film industry.
Oh my.
Not only has that been hailed as the worst Oscars ever,
Mm-hmm.
but it essentially ruined Alan Carr's career. He never produced anything again.
I mean, if you have Snow White singing Proud Mary with alternate lyrics and Rob Lowe singing along with you, I imagine they take away your I can make television card.
That is correct. 100%. If that is what your grand design when left to your
Yeah.
own devices, then you realize maybe it's time to take the
Yeah.
keys away so you don't drive anymore.
You, Hal, are an Oscars aficionado.
Yes, I love the Oscars.
Yeah. What makes you love the Oscars so much?
I think there's, as a performer, there's an aspirational quality to it, to imagine what it might be like to be up there, to see the upsets and try and figure out how people are voting. And also, like, having the right host is extremely important because it is never a short show.
Yeah.
So having a host who has decent bits, who moves things along, keeps the energy up throughout, is super important. And a lot of people have done it. A lot of people have done it.
Yeah. There were a lot of years where it was a collection. I mean, the most recent ones we know are Amy Schumer, Wanda Sykes, and Regina Hall. Mm-hmm. But in the 70s, it was always like, now it's going to be David Niven and Jack Lemmon. And also, I believe at one point, Ellen Burstyn.
Yep.
These whole collections of people where it was like, we're going to have this is going to be an ensemble cast kind of thing. Do you prefer an ensemble cast or do you prefer the solo host?
I like a solo host. I like an entertainer who can come out and do it on their own. And I think there are a number of people who have not yet gotten the opportunity to do it who would probably be good. But I think the contenders for this are people who did it by themselves.
Yeah.
One last footnote on Alan Carr. His lasting contribution to the Academy Awards was changing and the winner is to, and the Oscar goes to. So he did have a lasting impact. You can thank him for that. And the president of the Academy at the time was a guy named Gil Cates, who took over as producer the next year and produced it for several years after that. He's a legendary producer of the Oscars telecast.
Is he still doing it?
I believe he's passed away.
Well, I hope he's not still doing it then.
Because he's smiling up at us.
He is better up. Wow. How?
He's there on a trip. Calm down.
Oh, okay. He's in the orchestra pit.
He's in the orchestra pit. He's just there hanging out.
He's just his ghost is just going, play them off.
Make the microphone go down. Down.
Do they do that now? Like instead of just playing them off, they actually suck the microphone back into the stage?
Yes.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, they'll take it all away.
That is me. I would just keep getting shorter until I'm laying on the ground talking to a nub.
And another thing, you're trying to scrape and hold.
Yeah.
No, hold the hole open. I'm getting in there. But the thing is,
by the time I'm like laying flat on the ground, face down like that, I'm going full therapy mode. I'm just leaning into the mic and going, but the thing they don't understand is, as the orchestra is playing its third or fourth song. Yeah, I like a solo host too. I think there's something about being ushered through the whole night by one person that's really fun. Plus, you don't have to worry about the chemistry, like famously the terrible chemistry between James Franco and Anne Hathaway in their hosting.
Terrible.
So in looking at these, it seems to me like there are a few different categories these can fall into, these individual hosts. You've got classic old school Hollywood entertainers. Mm-hmm. You've got some edgy comedians, and then you've got and more topical stuff. And then you've got like whoever the late night hosts of the day are.
Right.
A couple of them cross over into that. Like Carson was a late night host of the day, but he was also a Hollywood, song and dance man kind of MC.
He's royalty.
There. Yeah, he's royalty there. Bob Hope was the old school royalty. Billy Crystal, definitely the song and dance man with his opening numbers. Mm-hmm. So I would say those are the ones in that category. Then you've got my personal favorite, one of my personal favorites, Chris Rock and some other comedians in the mix there. Schumer, Sykes, that crowd. And then you've got the late night hosts that do it, which seems to be the model of late. It's been Jimmy Kimmel a bunch. Mm-hmm. It's been Conan O'Brien now in his second year.
Yep. Jon Stewart did it once.
Jon Stewart. I really liked it. I know he got panned for it, but I liked it when Jon Stewart did it.
Yeah, he actually did it twice. He did it sandwiched in between. You have this run. You have Billy Crystal doing it a bunch, then Whoopi, then David Letterman, who I don't think his stuff works as well.
Yeah, his sort audience. Of snarky late night bad boy. Forgive me for forgetting Whoopi among the stand-up comics with the edge to them.
Yeah, so you have, after that debacle with Alan Carr, Gil Cates takes over, and for 4 straight years, you have Billy Crystal. He steps aside. You have Whoopi, David Letterman, Whoopi again. Billy comes back for 2. Whoopi again, Billy, Steve Martin.
Oh, Steve Martin. Steve Martin's up there for me. I love Steve Martin as a host because I think he does bridge the gap between, the old school Hollywood MC, master of ceremonies. You know what MC means, but it really did feel like they would even say, they wouldn't just call him an MC. They're like, when they did it, they were not EMCEE. They were M.C. master of ceremonies. They are in charge of the whole thing.
Yes.
But I think Steve Martin has that and also that stand-up comic mentality. But it's funny to look at. Well, we'll get into it.
He has one of my favorite jokes.
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon?
No. It was the actresses in the audience here run the gamut of all body types from skinny to thin. And then he just moves on. So he's really good at like picking apart the body dysmorphia and appearance issues that remain prevalent, but certainly at that time were worth being discussed. And I feel like he was one of the few who actually called it out in that way.
Let's talk about the opening monologues.
Yeah.
We're diving into some of the greats. There's some great contenders out there, multiple time hosts, but they all have to start the night with, I think there's a few things that are going to be important in this. I think it's going to be the opening monologue.
Yes.
The interstitial bits and the stamina to get to the end.
Right.
And keep it moving. I think Whoopi always did a great job of that stamina part, keeping it going until the end with her hilarious costume changes throughout.
Yes.
And just new bits every time. I think Steve Martin did a great job of riffing on what just happened immediately preceding. So it always seemed fresh as he was going through it. Yeah, they all have sort of a different touch to it. But let's talk about the opening monologues to start. First of all, if you haven't seen Bob Hope's first televised Oscars, the 1953 Oscars, that is one of the best Oscars opening monologues I've ever heard. And it is funny today. It was funny then. It's funny today about like the differences between him just crapping on television in the first ever televised Oscar and being like, movies win, right? Yeah, it was like movies win in the battle of movies versus television, which we've yet to determine, I think. But back then that was the common knowledge. What did he mentioned some TV star, but ended with, you want proof? Joe DiMaggio is not dating fill in the blank TV star.
Right. Lucille Ball or whoever.
Oh, somebody. Yeah, it was, but he did it 19 times.
Yes.
So we cannot discount Bob Hope as the trendsetter for what would be the Oscars to come. And I think the best version of that lineage came later on with Billy Crystal as Mr. Saturday Night, the entertainer, the showman. My wink is always there and my caustic jokes are not going to be too caustic.
Yeah, I don't know how well he holds up in the modern scrutiny, not because he did anything inappropriate. Not Bob Hope. Well,
Billy Crystal.
Bob Hope is very much of his time. There's a reason why he hosted it 19 times.
Yeah.
Part of it is because he owned the land on which NBC existed, but the other
is... he took Bob Hope Drive to get to the Oscars. That's why he hosted it.
Yeah, exactly. He is or was the consummate entertainer. He was the idea of like who an entertainer was. Is he a comedian? Yes, but he's more than that. Is he an actor? Yes, but he's more than that. He just is like this personification of entertainment that we don't really have anymore. Billy Crystal is sort of an heir apparent to that because he has an old school sensibility to him. Mm-hmm. And he brought that to his Oscar telecast. Like he wasn't really offensive in any way.
Billy.
And those musical numbers were
spectacular.
Just incredible.
Yeah.
The fact that you wanted him to come back each year and the thing you were most looking forward to was not any presenter or any award being handed out, but it was to see what Billy Crystal's medley was going to be. What song parodies was he going to do?
And in one case, how he was going to make his entrance after Jack Palance won the Oscar and proved that as an old man, he could still do one-armed push-ups. The following year for the Oscars, Billy Crystal is brought out on stage by Jack Palance pulling him in some sort of elaborate rickshaw scenario.
Yes.
And then I think he dropped again and did more one-armed push-ups in his 80s. That was a tough dude, man.
I also love the 1991 Oscars when they bring him out on the pallet with the full Hannibal Lecter in the straitjacket and the mask. So also like similar to Whoopi. And they work together a bunch on Comic Relief, so it's not a surprise. But
yeah, that trio, the Comic Relief trio is the holy trinity of comedians of that era. Billy Crystal, Robin Williams, Whoopi Goldberg, helming Comic Relief, which was all the great comedians playing.
Yes.
But yeah, I thought Whoopi did a great job of that too. Whoopi would keep it going throughout the night in a great way. You know what I mean? Like Billy Crystal made one great entrance and then did interstitial moments throughout the night. Whoopi made a bunch of great entrances.
Do you think Whoopi's a little too dry for the Oscars? That feels like a weird thing to say.
I don't. I think that it worked. I think what Whoopi Goldberg did at the Oscars always worked. One thing that Whoopi did when she would, at least if we're talking about the opening monologues, one thing that, first of all, was she the first woman to host? Like solo?
By herself? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I thought that she held the crowd. I think she holds the crowd really well. I think she keeps things moving really well. Everybody in the audience trusts her. That was one of those comedy things that, you know, we were taught, at Second City is like, it's not, you don't have to be funny right out the gate. You just have to have the audience's trust. They have to know they're in good hands. And I think Whoopi came out and let the audience know they were in good hands. But sometimes she would do it a little too verbally and be like, here is what I'm going to do. She would call her shot. I'm going to be edgy right now. I'm going to say this kind of joke. You know what I mean? Or I just did this edgy. It's a little bit Ricky Gervais and the ain't I a stinker kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Whereas my all-time favorite Oscars opening monologue was the second time that Chris Rock hosted, when there were no black nominees. Chris Rock hosting an Oscars with no black nominees. He took the gloves off on that. And man, it was funny and it was brutal, but it was also nothing that anybody could argue against. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And he put it, and he every year, the Oscars, they always seem to make fun of the same things. You know what I mean? And it's part of the game. It's the only acting that happens on this stage tonight is the acting that happens when you lose. And you have to be happy for the other person. Right. Look how shallow everyone is. Look how thin everyone is. Look how detached from society everyone is.
Yep.
Chris Rock leaning into, oh, there are no black nominees. Let's talk about the Oscars relationship with the black community for the entirety of this opening monologue. And it's going to crush.
Oh, yeah.
But every moment was funny. Every moment, like he kept it going. He wasn't, and that's why, I mean, that's why I think he's my favorite stand-up, because his viewpoint is so specific and cannot be argued against. That's one thing that so maybe personally, I just love Chris Rock as a host, but that's my favorite opening monologue I ever saw.
I love it too. I think it was a great monologue, and it almost is like when you have, and that was the year, I think that started the Oscar So White hashtag that became like, that was, I think, a 2016 thing, which you follow up the next year with La La Land getting called out as Best Picture winner by mistake when Moonlight is actually the picture that won.
Yeah.
Chris Rock was great about him. Like, you're in that situation, you have no black nominees, and then you have Chris Rock lined up. And I think that was a year where they probably expected to.
Yeah, there were some snubs that year.
There were.
Everybody thought Spike Lee was going to get nominated for his movie. Everybody thought there were a few of them. On the list.
So it's almost like, you sure you want to have him show up? You think he's not going to talk about it?
It's so good.
And it be like, he's a lightning rod guy, which is great. Like, I'm a fan. I've seen him live. He's incredible live. He's certainly one of the best to ever do it.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here trying to reason through it. It's not like I think, especially now, the modern Oscars, and really historically, have been a good place to make a political statement, whether it's Brando or like whatever it is.
Well, that's the thing, is like, remind me in a second. I've seen Chris Rock live once also, and I'll tell you that story in just a second. You might have been with me when when this happened, although I don't know. The thing about having politics in the Oscars, look, there's a lot going on in the world.
Yeah.
And if you have 1 billion people and you are a socially conscious person, then it's almost irresponsible not to at least use the 1 billion person audience to forward some good in some small way. It's because it's a night of people congratulating themselves.
Yes.
So like, you're not messing with the sanctity of something terribly important.
True.
In the grand scheme of the world. So if you've got 1 billion people, I don't know. What do you think?
I think I don't have a problem with saying your piece. I think that, when you hire like, if you have Ricky Gervais come over and over again to do the Golden Globes, you can't imagine it's going to be that he's doing anything different than what he's done before.
No, he's going to be Ricky Gervais, and he's going to tell you that he's a rascal, and then he's going to say something rascally and then say, see, I told you I was a rascal.
Right. And for Chris Rock, like, his stuff is very topical. There's nothing he's unwilling to talk about. And it's almost better, like, if you're going to be in that ridiculous situation where it's just a bunch, like, yet again, here's a bunch of white people nominated for awards. Like, there's no better host to have in that. He was the right host for that moment.
Absolutely.
Do I want to see him host every single year? I would rather just watch him do a stand-up special about the Oscars than host the Oscars.
Yeah, I can see that.
In that year, I wouldn't, there's nobody I would have rather had as the host.
Right. And then you look at something like another situation where you've got this very weird moment. Was one of the ones where Steve Martin hosted. And I thought he handled it deftly, coming out on stage like right out of the gate. This was less than a week after we declared war against Iraq, was the Oscars. And Steve Martin walked out on stage. And this is why I think he threaded that needle so well of, you know, making fun of Hollywood, a little bit of what's going on in the world. And that's another great monologue to watch. I won't ruin it by trying to remember all of the things, but his parallels and lining things up with what was going on politically was really good Oscars hosting and really good political comedy. I mean, I know that his first thing out of the gate was, tonight we're here to congratulate ourselves. That'll show him. You know what I mean? And everybody knew what he was talking about because we're less than a week from the beginning of a war. Yeah. So that was, and I think that, man, it's tough. Like that to me is how he, you know, found that balance between them and why I think he was so good at it. Quick story about the one time I saw Chris Rock live.
Yes.
There was a pattern that would happen every once in a while when you and I were coming up at Second City, where we would go after the show or after class or whatever we were doing. We were right next door, connected via a hallway full of photos to the Improv in Hollywood, the stand-up comedy joint. And our buddy John Kirk was the server bartender there. Do you remember this? Were you there for this?
It depends on the story you're about to tell.
Okay.
But we'll see. Let's see if it's the same story I think it is.
You know, it's funny because so many of these stories begin the same way, is we would go in for a drink or a burger after a show and the show would be going on. So the bar would be pretty sparse and John Kirk would walk up to us and he would go in the showroom right now. And when John said that, you did not ask questions. You just went in the showroom and stood in the back. And 2 times this happened. We went in and Dave Attell was on stage. For some reason, it was always Dave Attell up on stage when this happened.
He's the harbinger.
Yeah, I guess. One of the times it was Dave Chappelle coming back from Africa. It was his first stop from the airport. Was he stopped at the Improv. The other time was the night before the Oscars. Chris Rock came up on stage. And this was the first time he hosted when most of his material was about Fahrenheit 9/11 was nominated and George Bush was, the villain that everybody was, that was on everybody's mind. And Chris Rock went in there and just did maybe 20, 25 minutes. That was a pretty caustic set that he did on the Oscars telecast. I remember watching him and going, oh, he cut that joke. Oh, he cut that joke. Yeah, I imagine he cut that joke. Oh, that, and then even in the moment, I was like, oh, that joke's never going to make it, but we're loving it. And it was just a brutal roast takedown. And then he kept the best, 7 minutes of it, or the least, the most palatable 7 minutes. So it was fun to be in a Hollywood moment of watching a master at work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's really
cool. Because he's listening as much as he's talking.
Right. I do remember the night Chappelle came back because we were doing a sketch show. We were rehearsing on Monday nights from 7 to 10. And it was during the bathroom break. So you must have gone to use the bathroom, which was the one in the Improv. That was where you would go. Yeah. I was sitting in the theater and then I heard this roar come from the crowd.
Oh, I was part of that roar.
And went to check it out and see what was going on. And it turned out that was the night Dave Chappelle came in and came back from Africa and stopped in to do a set. So it's funny that we were there. You were in the, it would make sense that we would both be there. You would be in the room and I would be sitting in a soft chair in the next room.
Oh, no,
going,
thank you. Yeah.
What a roar.
Must be something going on over there.
I wonder if a lion got loose or perhaps a bear. They seem very agitated and excited.
That's your first thought when you're next to a comedy theater and you hear an uproarious cheer. Your thought is,
I assume a bear
there must be a lion or a bear in there.
Yeah, I assume an animal got in and is attacking everybody.
You know what? If I ever did a stand-up act, now I want it to be an animal act. I'm talking trained seal, ball on the nose. I'm doing jokes and he's just, clapping and laughing. One of the best prop bits I ever saw in a stand-up set. Our friend Andy Crocker goes up on stage to do a stand-up set with a ventriloquist dummy, sets it down on a stool, and then just does her stand-up set with the ventriloquist dummy sitting there. And then a little ways into the set, she's like, oh yeah, this isn't a ventriloquist act. He's just here to watch and judge my set. And then just kept going It was one of the best, weirdest little stand-up
Great bit.
moments I ever saw.
It's a great bit.
It's a great bit.
There is a history in the Oscars of having a maybe edgier host like Chris Rock. And then with the exception of, so you have Steve Martin, then Whoopi, then Steve Martin again, then Billy Crystal returns in 2004. Then you get Chris Rock for the first time, followed by Jon Stewart. So you have them back to back.
Yeah.
Then you have Ellen DeGeneres, the least offensive person on a stage
Yeah.
that you could possibly have. Then Jon Stewart returns, followed by Hugh Jackman.
I love Hugh Jackman as a host.
Yeah, he's a great entertainer. I like him better as a Tony's host.
Yeah,
than an
Neil
Oscar
Patrick
host.
Harris is the same thing. He's also hosted
Yes.
the Oscars once, but
Yes, he has.
the two of them, look, I don't know if we mentioned this at the top. We're going to do a few of these. When we get to the Tonys, we're going to talk about Hugh Jackman and
For sure.
NPH as some of the all-time greats.
have
But for the Oscars, the all-time greats they're not on that list.
They're
but
not.
is one of the ubiquitous Oscar hosts that is one of the all-time greats, simply for longevity, if nothing else, going to defeat all of these, 1 or 2 or 3-time hosts that just knocked it out of the park in their own way.
I think so. I think being able to come back and do it again. Like Jimmy Kimmel was a good host.
Yeah.
He wasn't bad. He was a good host. He did it 4 times and wasn't bad at it by any stretch of the imagination. I like him.
Yeah. He's very likable. I feel like that's the reaction everybody has to Jimmy Kimmel is like, he's great.
I'll tell you what, though. I believe that Conan O'Brien is building a case.
Really?
Yes, he's done it twice. He's lined up to do it a 3rd time.
He is very good.
I would imagine there's something in his energy. He's not afraid to do weird stuff, but it lands better. Letterman's weird stuff walked so that Conan's weird stuff could fly, or maybe the opposite.
Yeah.
Because everything Conan does is written in that very smart, very sharp. There's a comedic end to this rather than here's Larry Bud Melman talking to people and isn't he weird?
Yeah.
There's almost a Dadaist kind of sensibility to Letterman that where with Conan, the joke comes out of left field, but it's always a joke and it's smart people. It's like a smart guy doing the dumbest thing possible.
Yeah. Because wasn't he Harvard Lampoon?
He was a Harvard Lampoon guy.
He's a super genius. Yeah.
Super genius. He's his comedy writing resume has got the 1-2 punch of The Simpsons and SNL.
Yeah.
And watching his voice develop as a late night host, even what he did in the brief time he was with the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
He's not afraid to look stupid either.
Yeah.
I don't know that Letterman's ever a guy who looks stupid. He always looks like he's watching the stupid thing and
it's funny,
stupid.
The POV that's crafted by these individual performers and their writing staffs. I don't think we can discount the writing staff for each of these. They're bringing in their own head writers. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I'm sure that each of these guys and women brought in their people that they love to write with.
Yes.
And so it does, the whole telecast goes through the filter of this personality. You know what I mean? And Conan's personality is kind of perfect for it in that not only is he willing to look like an idiot, he's also willing to play ball in a thing that is, like I was saying before, it's an award show. It is a group of people looking inward and giving each other awards. And Conan, there's some that know that and don't like it. Letterman seemed like he thought it was dumb.
Right.
And Conan looks at it and he's like, okay, I'll play ball. I know this is important to a lot of people. And it is great to see a first-time nominee win and just absolutely gobsmacked. It's great to see a veteran who's been snubbed for years get up there. There are these moments that happen. So it's a wonderful thing that's worth viewing. And Conan is very good at no, I'm not making fun of the whole thing. I'm putting myself into this. I think it's funny that I'm the one doing it. You know what I mean? There's that self-effacing. Bob Hope did a great version of the self-effacing too, because his whole bit was, I want an Oscar. I want an Oscar. I don't have an Oscar. I want one. And that bit is, if you're the 19-time host of the show, that bit is so good and going to keep going. So I love that.
Yeah. You become the Trix Rabbit of the Oscars.
Yeah. Yeah, which is really fun. But I also love that the sensibilities of each of these comics comes through in their interstitial bits. Like Conan is doing something with the Oscars now where he's putting these bits in that are apropos of nothing. You know what I mean? They're not, I don't know if they're covering set changes or what's happening, but they are in a telecast that has categories removed so that they can fit their time. For him to put in a dumb bit, it's like that could have been a category. Yeah, but the show wouldn't have been as fun. You know what I mean? Like you need those pepper through. And I thought Stewart did a great job with that. One of my all-time favorite bits that they ever did on the Oscars was Jon Stewart introducing, there were two of them. It was the Oscars tribute to periscopes and binoculars. Remember that? It was just shots from movies through periscopes and binoculars. And Tough Guys Don't Look at Explosions.
Yep.
Was that on a Stewart one?
No, that was a Lonely Island for the MTV Movie Awards.
Oh, that was MTV Movie Awards.
Yeah, Cool Guys Don't Look at Explosions.
That's what it was. Cool Guys Don't Look at... I thought that was an Oscar. It felt like a Stewart Oscars bit. But the Oscars tribute to periscopes and binoculars is so dumb and so funny.
Really good. Yeah. Feels like it could also be a Conan bit. Like, feels like he could do that stuff. He could dabble in Letterman. He is a singer. He likes to sing and dance and make a fool out of himself. So he kind of combines a lot of elements of what makes all these other hosts so great. But I don't think he's there yet. I wouldn't consider him
He'll get there. He could potentially get there.
Yes.
And opening with, in the same way that Billy Crystal opened with, you always knew you were going to get a song and dance number. Did Conan, he opened with a sketch twice in a row, right?
Yes. He kept putting himself in movies as well.
Yeah. That I love. I love that bit. Other hosts have done the put yourself in movies.
Yeah. Billy Crystal did it. He did it with the year of the English Patient when he returned and he had, the plane was chasing him. And it's David Letterman saying, what you do is you introduce Oprah to Uma.
Oh my God.
And then Uma to Oprah, which is a great, again, kudos to Letterman for like not taking himself that seriously in that moment from coming and doing that. But yeah, that's not a new bit to put yourself in those movies, but he did it really funny. Him doing the Amy Madigan makeup from, was it Weapons?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So good. Such a great opening. And the kids just, and you know, these kids are having a ball just chasing Conan O'Brien through the streets of Los Angeles. Like, yeah, it's a blast.
So I would put him up there. For me, I would be choosing between Billy Crystal and Bob Hope.
Just for the pure classic old school Hollywood entertainment of it. You know, why those two? Why not any of the edgier guys or the needle threaders of the edge?
Because for them, I think of their individual performances. When I think of the Oscars, I think of Billy Crystal and Bob Hope. Yeah. That they're the people who are synonymous with it. And Billy Crystal having done it a number, I think he's done it 8 times, something like that. 9. Okay. It feels like he hosted it every year for 3 decades.
That's because it was when we were growing up, he was always the host. Yeah. I never saw a full Bob Hope hosted version, but I saw a million Billy Crystal hosted versions.
Sure.
And he did do a great job of, like, he would make himself look like the fool. You know what I mean? Because and Bob Hope never seemed to do that. Bob Hope ran that room. Bob Hope was the consummate, classy professional whose jokes were sharp and whose only, like, you know, who's the only thing that made him the underdog was the lack of an Oscar, which was a great through line for that long.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's recency bias, but I also think that most of the really great hosts, solo hosts, have been in the last 30 years, 40 years.
I like that recency. We're getting old, Hal. If recency bias is the last 40 years.
Well, I'm just saying there's an era once we get out of the 70s and it's not a ton of people hosting. You get past Carson in the early 80s and then 86 is like Jane Fonda and Robin Williams and was it F. Murray Abraham? No, Alan Alda.
Alan Alda. That was the first trio. I was like, oh, that's a funky, fun trio.
It's a fun trio. Yeah. Then the one after it is not as much fun. Chevy Chase. Not as much fun. Goldie Hawn, tons of fun. Paul Hogan, we get it. It's 1987. Crocodile Dundee has come out and taken the world by storm.
Oh my gosh.
But I think Billy Crystal also gets, so Bob Hope helps usher in the television era of the Oscars. That's super important. I also think Billy Crystal helped to, along with Gil Cates, helped to restore a little prestige to the Oscars after 89, which was such a mess.
Yeah.
There's a great book called Oscar Wars that you can either read or listen to the audiobook of that goes into detail on like several years of the formation of the Academy, important years in Oscar history. Mm-hmm. And one of them is 89, just because it's so bad, so ridiculous, like almost killed the Oscars.
I mean, I remember seeing this once and being like, what is this fever dream that I'm having of this? But I don't really remember watching the Oscars until the Billy Crystal years started because, you know, I was a little kid and I was like, and then I was starting to get into, you know, really focusing on acting and wanting to be in movies and TV shows and things and really like, oh, this, like you mentioned before, this is the aspirational thing. I remember when Tom Hanks won his first Oscar and I was just watching that. I was like, get one of those one day. Mm-hmm. And in the meantime, I'm going to wear that same stud collar tuxedo that he wears. I'm going to wear that to the prom. That's going to get me an Oscar. So I had that studded collar tuxedo when I went to the prom as a sophomore because I was like, well, man, if I'm going to be Tom Hanks later, I better get used to wearing the studded bow tie. No, thank you.
No.
Give me a little mini Dracula medallion right there in the middle. Yeah.
Mark Gagliardi, prom Dracula.
That's right.
Do you agree it's between those two?
Objectively, I think it is.
Okay.
Subjectively, I have my personal favorites, and I think those are Chris Rock and Steve Martin because I think Steve Martin, he has the vibe plus the little bit of, I wouldn't say edge, but the little bit of like avant-garde that Steve Martin has.
Yeah.
Chris Rock definitely has we're going to talk about this.
Yeah. My two favorites are probably Steve Martin and Conan.
Yeah. But as far as the best ones go, like, yeah, like that, Bob Hope set the stage, and what Billy Crystal did with the Oscars, having those opening bits and having that opening song every time, just setting it up that this is a show. You know what I mean? And I don't know, that might have been just Gil Cates' thing and Billy going along with it, but there was something about that. And, you know, again, maybe it is the 40-year-old recency bias.
Yeah.
But for me, I think that when I think about Oscars hosts, the first one I think of is Billy Crystal, because that was what I was seeing him do most of too, was hosting the Oscars. The most I saw Billy Crystal was in the Oscars. I love the City Slickers movies. He was doing, you know, he did Forget Paris. He was doing some cool stuff around that time, but he was a movie star and I saw him on TV in the Oscars. The thing now and I, again, maybe this is why my reaction to Kimmel is he's good. You know what I mean? He's great. He's very good at it, but it doesn't feel as, forgive me, special to see Jimmy Kimmel host a show at night on ABC. You know what I mean? Because we always see Jimmy Kimmel host a show at night on ABC.
Right.
To see a movie star like Billy Crystal host a show on television.
Who was a huge star at that time.
Huge star. Yeah, that if it's between Bob Hope and Billy Crystal, Bob Hope was a wonderful master of ceremonies. But Billy Crystal would get down in the dirt. I don't know if I can imagine Bob Hope doing some of the same bits that Billy Crystal did. Physical bits.
Unless it's like Dolly Parton, whether he's like, wow, take a look at this. Like, you know, like that feels like when he would dress up. Like it's not a USO or televised special.
Right.
By the way, Billy Crystal would contribute to his medleys, but they were mostly written by a guy you probably know named Mark Shaman.
Did Mark Shaman write those?
Yes.
Oh.
He would compose, and he and Billy Crystal would work together on the lyrics.
I mean, you know where I first fell in love with Mark Shaman's work. Smash! He wrote season 1, all the music for season 1 of Smash. He also had a huge musical. I think he did, didn't he do Hairspray? Was that his?
I think so.
Yeah. Brilliant, brilliant writer.
Yeah. So that's why they're so good.
Yeah. Look, and then some of Conan's bits are because of his writers being so good. Like the host is the face of it, but there's always people that are creating with them. But as far as being the face of it, Billy Crystal feels pretty right.
The fact that he's done it fewer than half the number of times as Bob Hope, but he's remembered probably equally. Yeah. And I don't think he'll ever host again.
Half of Bob Hope's were on the radio.
Right. True. That is true. I think it should be Billy Crystal.
Well, should be or not, Hal, we're determining that it is.
Well, people of the world, insert medley here of all the different. I wish I'd written a medley with the anticipation that this was going to be the answer, but if you've not seen Billy Crystal's openings, you can go watch them. I'm sure they're all on YouTube available to watch. I'm sure the Academy has them up there. If not, somebody else has ripped them and put them up there, and they are worth watching if you've never seen them before, to understand that that was what people talked about and what people looked forward to after they talked about it after the first one, and we're looking forward to him topping himself. And I think partly the pressure of that made it like, I don't know if I can do any better than this. I have to step away after 4 times, and then came back a couple times. And it was always exciting to see him. You're like, yeah, this feels right to have Billy Crystal host the Oscars. And that is what makes him the best Oscars host. For now, asked and answered. Conan's nipping at those heels. I really think that.
Yeah, he really is. That could be a great thing that Conan becomes known for. You know what I mean? Like Drew Carey got out of stand-up, got out of sitcoms, and now he's great at The Price is Right.
Yes, he is.
So, sure, maybe Conan's new thing is podcasting and Oscars. But for now, the best of all time, Billy Crystal. This topic is closed, but there are many more topics to discuss. Thanks again to
Coffee Bruin.
Coffee Bruin. Thank you, Coffee Bruin. This topic is closed. Many more to discuss, so please reach out to us via email at wegotThisPodcast@gmail.com, or
you can find us on social media. We Got This Podcast, with the exception of Instagram, where we are at We Got This Show. You can join our Discord, where this wonderful topic from Coffee Bruin originated. You can get there by going to bit.ly/WGT Discord. While you're at it, while you're following and joining different things, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're at We Got This Podcast on there. We've been doing live streams every other week, and they're a lot of fun. So you can not only find those, but you can find a bunch of other video content we've put out over the years. You can ingest other episodes of the podcast if you prefer to have them running on YouTube while you're at work or whatever. We're not judging you. We just want you to listen. And if you are subscribed to the channel, that's when you'll know when new stuff drops and when we're going live. You'll get alerted to that. And it could be sooner than you think. Also, This show is made possible and continues because of the support of Max Fun members. And you can join that elite group of tastemakers by going to MaximumFun.org/join-WGT. All it costs is $5 a month or $60 for the whole year. Not only do you get that feeling of satisfaction knowing that you are one of the reasons that we get to keep going, but you get access to a huge library of bonus content from us over the past 10 years and every other show on the network. We've got what I think might be our best episode ever is in that bonus
in the BOCO
section. It's in our BOCO. So
were we at 30,000 feet?
We were talking about it. We weren't there. That was a different, that one I think
that was a different one.
We recorded on an airplane.
Oh, did we?
Flying from Australia to New Zealand, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
What a pair of dopes. Anyway, you want to hear our bonus content? That is the only way to get access to it. And I promise it is worth your time. Thank you to producer Ken Plume, who recently had his birthday as of this recording. But by the time you listen to it, he will have aged even more off of his birthday, but he's still younger than me. I'll point it out for him. Thank you also to researcher Kate McManus, graphic designer Uri Kelman, and QA engineer Jen Alba.
And of course, thank you to our musicians, Jonathan Dinerstein and Mike Furman, for our score and theme song, respectively. And thanks to you, the people of the world, who, I've been handed an envelope, and the WGTE for, is that what we would call them? Gotties. No, that's a mobster.
The Gotties.
Yeah, the Gotties. We got
the Gothams.
The Gothams. All right. The winner. I'm sorry. And the Gotham for most fun place on the internet to argue is the people of the world. Oh, we knew it was coming. We wouldn't do this without you. We couldn't do this without you. So to you, we say thank you, thank you, thank you. For Hal Lublin, I'm Mark Gagliardi.
For Mark Gagliardi, I'm Hal Lublin. And don't worry, everybody. We got this.
We got this.
Hi, I'm Justin McElroy, and I host Sawbones with my wife, Sydney. I'm here with Max Fun Member of the Month, Amanda Adams. Thank you so much for being a supporter, and thank you for being our Member of the Month.
Woohoo! You're so welcome.
How long have you been listening to Sawbones, Amanda?
It's been probably a good 10 years. I very much enjoy Dr. Sydney and everything she does, and it's wonderful to be able to support it.
Let me ask you about the most important moment in your life when you decided to become a Max Fun supporter.
Honestly, I am just proud I can support the people who make me hours and hours of content every week. I feel honored to do it.
Amanda Adams, thank you so much. I really appreciate your support. Congratulations on your whole month.
Thank you so much. It has been a good month already.
Support the shows you love, including this one. Check the show notes for a link or go to MaximumFun.org/join.
Hi, everybody. It's Ellen Weatherford.
And Christian Weatherford.
People say not to judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree.
But we can judge a snake by its ability to fly, or a spider by its ability to dive.
Or a dung beetle by its ability to navigate with the starlight of the Milky Way galaxy.
On Just the Zoo of Us, we rate our favorite animals out of 10 in the categories of physical effectiveness, behavioral ingenuity, and of course, aesthetics.
Guest experts like biologists, ecologists, musicians, comedians, and more join us to share their unique insights into the animal kingdom.
Listen with the whole family on MaximumFun.org or wherever you get your podcasts.
MaximumFun.org.
Comedy and culture.
Artist owned.
Audience supported.